You want to bend time? Here's how. One spreadsheet, something I call the high impact life scorecard, took me from 18-hour workdays and 33% body fat to 6 p.m. dinners with my family and losing almost 70 pounds, and my revenue and my businesses went up the entire time. By the end of this video, you'll have the exact steps and exact template that I use today to accomplish anything I want in life. You can download it, you can steal it, and you can start using it right now. So tell me if this sounds familiar. Your family finishes their dinner before you even get home, but you know, you're doing it for them. You wish you had time to get to the gym, but you never seem to make it. You feel like you never stop working, but the list of shit you gotta do just keeps getting longer. That was my reality for years, so if that hits, I was you. I was building a company, still working my day job, missing my little kids growing up and feeling like I barely knew my wife. Entrepreneurship is already hard as hell, but there are ways you can make it easier because it doesn't have to suck forever. And my path out of being an overweight workaholic all started with a decision and a simple spreadsheet. So make sure you stick around to the end. Step one, dream big, like really big. Because if you're anything like me, you default to living one Slack message at a time. Email after email, emergency after emergency, you're getting pulled into playing small by paying attention to everyone else's bullshit. In my first company, I think I spent less than 5 hours per year thinking big, because most of my energy was spent just trying to survive till tomorrow. But small thinking builds small companies, and you gotta zoom out if you wanna win big. When I do this, I start with a framework from my friend and business partner, Dan Martell. He calls it the 10X Vision Map. It's a quadrant that helps you illustrate what life looks like at scale. The people, the primary company, 10 million in revenue is the absolute minimum. The empire you build, meaning the other impacts on the world you can make with the resources from the main business, and the type of lifestyle that you're living. For me, I start with the business because it's where my mind goes naturally. I visualize what it'll look like at $100 million in revenue. Then I figure out who's gonna be with me when I do that, the impact I'm gonna have on the world, and then the lifestyle. That's the order that works for me and my brain. The key to this is to only focus on the what. Never focus on the how, because that's where planners like me get jammed up. But for me, it's just not high fidelity enough when I draw it on a piece of paper. I have to write in order to bring it to life, and that's where I pull on the vivid vision, which I learned from my friend Cameron Harold. I take each bullet point from the 10X Vision Map and I write out with words exactly how it looks and exactly how it feels. Present tense, lots of adjectives, and tons of sensory details. Your mindset should be that Netflix is filming a documentary about my goals, and what would that look like? It gets me into the right headspace of thinking big in vivid detail. Anything that's more than 1 year away will lack urgency. So I take a 1 year chunk out of my vivid vision that I just created, and I use that as the raw material for the rest of this process. So to summarize, I draw the 10X Vision Map and I fill it out, which helped me figure out the main business, the people around me, the empire I'm building, and the life that I'm living. From there, I take pen to paper and do a vivid vision style writing exercise to bring it to life. And once that's done, I take an aggressive 1 year chunk out of the vivid vision and use that to drive my year. You got it? Good, because it's time to zoom back in. Step 2 is to break the years into days. The first thing I do with an annual goal is I break it into quarters. And there's a ton of research on this because teams that plan in quarters are almost 70% more likely to hit their goals versus teams that plan annually. And yeah, that sounds like business, but planning for my life, it's no different. A quarter is a magical length of time. It's long enough to get real shit accomplished, but it's short enough to still feel some urgency. I think of it like this. A quarter is 13 Mondays. It's 13 blank slates, 13 chances to win or lose. Draw 13 boxes in a row on a piece of paper, and that is your map to everything you said you wanted when you wrote the vivid vision. I keep it real simple here. I spend the first week of the quarter planning, and then I set some checkpoint goals after week 5 and week 9, and that's the quarterly plan. But if you stop here, you're still freaking doomed because you haven't actually changed your behavior yet. Winners and losers have the same goals, but champions have standards. Some examples of standards. I'm gonna work out before my kids get up in the morning. I'm gonna write 500 words before I open Slack. I'm gonna call 3 customers before I start writing code. Just examples. Like, to do this right, you've gotta ask yourself one question. What are the daily standards of action in my life that I can take in order to make my goal inevitable? Because that's how you actually move the needle. But without nailing the next step, your standards aren't going to be worth the paper they're written on. Cal Newport estimated that a 40-hour week that's time blocked will produce the same output as a 60-hour week that's not. Nir Eyal, the author of Indistractable, wrote that he prefers calendars over to-do lists, and there's even a Harvard Business Review survey that listed time blocking as the #1 productivity tactic from a list of over 100 choices. It's insanely powerful if you know how to load the calendar properly. I follow a very specific recipe. The first thing that I put in the calendar are things that I know I can't move. Recurring work meetings, family commitments, all the immovable objects, I load them in first to build the container. After that, the very next thing has nothing to do with business. I put in the time that's required for my health, my physical health and my mental health. This includes stuff like gym time, reading time, 30 minutes a day for a power down ritual so I don't bring my work home with me. These time blocks usually will satisfy my daily standards for health and personal related goals. And only once that stuff's loaded in, then I block out my time for work, for deep work, which usually includes the daily standards for business related goals and stuff that I need to create for my companies. Last but not least, I'll see whatever gaps are left over and I'll fill them in with like random meetings, open blocks of time for people to book in on my calendar, and other like administrative work that doesn't take too much brain power. I cannot possibly overstate the impact of running your life this way. It's completely counterintuitive because if you're sitting there listening to me talk thinking it sounds like prison, I promise you, it's actually the path to freedom. But you know what they say about plans, which is why you need to master what I'm about to teach you in the next step to make sure that you follow this one. Step 4 is run a time audit. So if you've ever had a bunch of days where you felt insanely freaking busy and also felt that you got nothing done, pay attention to this part, because yes, you can time block like a maniac, and you should. I certainly do. But even though your brain is gonna want everything to be perfect all the time and follow your little plan in your little calendar, it's never gonna work for 2 reasons. Number 1, life is imperfect and stuff's always gonna pop up. You just gotta accept it. And number 2, your business and your life will evolve, and things that used to be high impact and super important will no longer serve you, and at that point, they gotta go away. The best mechanism I know for catching this stuff is a time audit, and I do it quarterly, every quarter, like clockwork. It's pretty simple to do. Set a timer on your phone that goes off every 15 minutes, 7 days a week for 2 weeks in a row. And whenever it goes off, you just write down what you did in the past 15 minutes. Once you have the data, I like to grade it 2 different ways. The first, and this is really important if you're an entrepreneur, you're running a business. The first way is you grade it against revenue generation. In other words, if it makes you a bunch of money, you probably need to keep doing it. Don't sabotage your business in the name of work-life balance, because the life that you want is on the other side of revenue growth, because revenue growth unlocks the team that lets you live the life you want in the first place. The way that I do this is really simple. Next to every line on the time audit, I just write a $sign. I'll write 1 if it has nothing to do with revenue, and I'll write 4 if it's like the primary way that makes my business money. And the goal is really simple. I want as many $signs on my time audit list as possible. But if you've been listening at all through this video, you've heard me explaining that like business isn't everything. You also gotta measure energy. Tony Schwartz talks about this in his book, The Power of Full Engagement. He says that performance follows energy, not hours, so it's on you to make sure you're doing activities that create energy and not steal it. So in addition to labeling every block from a revenue standpoint, I also label every block on the time audit from an energetic standpoint. I'll write a minus for things that drain my energy, a 0 if I feel like it's kind of neutral, and a plus sign for things that charge me up. Tony's advice, which I love, he says that your goal is to design a life where your positive activities outweigh your negative activities by at least a 2-to-1 ratio. So if you do all that and you think you're done, you're not. I'm gonna raise the standard one more time, because now, at this point in the process, these first 4 steps, you've got all the raw ingredients you need, but you haven't yet committed to the system, and that's where the secret sauce comes in, because it's template time. One of my favorite interviews I've ever listened to was Jerry Seinfeld getting interviewed by Tim Ferriss. He talked a ton about how he built his writing habit, but he specifically zeroed in on the concept of consistency. He calls it not breaking the chain. Said that his success as a writer wasn't due to him being naturally brilliant as much as it was due to him just being insanely consistent, literally writing jokes for an hour a day, every single day for decades. He charts it on his like refrigerator with a calendar, and he just puts an X on the calendar for every day that he writes for the hour, and all he thinks about is that he doesn't want to break the chain. BJ Fogg said the same thing in Tiny Habits, that habits are votes and that you're basically voting for the identity that you want to create with the actions that you take. Now look, I'm a freaking nerd. I like to do things digitally. So, shocker, I made a spreadsheet. It's crazy simple. Every single column is a day. Every row is a habit, an action, a metric, or a data point that I gotta track in order to hit my goals, personal first and then business. Did I go to the gym? What were my calories? What were my macros? Did I read? Did I write? Did I make sales calls? Did I shoot marketing videos? Did I post on social media? Did I spend quality time with my wife? Did I have any one-on-one time with my kids? You get the idea. If you have a goal and you've identified the daily standard of action, it goes in a row on the high impact life scorecard and you track it every single day because behaviors drive habits. Habits drive progress. Progress creates results, and results are what will bring your vision to life in reality. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. Winners and losers have the same goals. It's your habits, your systems, and your level of discipline that will decide whether or not you hit them. So, if you want the high impact life scorecard, I'll give you the template for free. You gotta go over to my Instagram profile, it's in the show notes, message me the word impact, I will give it to you along with a few ideas on how to get started. Outside of that, make sure you subscribe to this channel because I'm gonna keep teaching every single thing that I know about how to squeeze every drop of awesomeness that I can out of business and out of life, and I don't want you to miss a single thing. Thanks.